Hey there, I'm Brendan Burns, Corporate Vice President for Open Source Cloud Native on Azure. And I want to talk about how Azure itself has embraced open source. Because open source isn't just what our customers are running on Azure, it's what we're actually building Azure with as well. Whether it's customers who are using .NET, which is out there on GitHub and has been for many, many years, to people who are doing cloud native computing with policy, which was contributed by Azure and the Gatekeeper project, to our most recent announcement of Hyperlight, which we've brought out into the open source and are planning on donating to the CNCF. Tons and tons of the innovation that happens for our customers and for ourselves is happening in GitHub and on open source. And I think what's also really amazing is it's changing the way that our teams interact with their customers. I think a great example of this that is actually not from the cloud native space is the bicep project. So a few years ago, the Azure Resource Manager team was thinking about how they could reinvent the way people wrote templates and infrastructure as code for Azure. And at the time, I encouraged them quite strongly to open source this new language that they were building, which ended up being called Bicep. And I think at the time there was a little bit of concern about what does it mean to run an open source project? What does it mean to work with your customers on GitHub? But what we've seen over the time with that project is that we've gotten so much more engagement with our customers because they can come in, look at the code, find a bug, contribute a fix, advance the state of the language, and satisfy their needs without relying necessarily on us to write the code. And that partnership, the closeness of that partnership between the people who are using our software and my engineers who are building that software has just been a really incredible form of collaboration. And so I think what's truly amazing to see as we've been on this open source journey at Microsoft is how much it's changed not just how we build software and not just the software that we roll things out onto, but also the way that we think about our own interactions with our customers. And it's really, I think, empowered our teams to get a closeness that they just wouldn't have had if they were writing software and shipping it over the fence without that kind of collaboration. And I think going forward, we're excited about seeing even more of this spread from the Azure organization. It's obviously very present in our developer and developer tooling, but it's really going everywhere where we see as Teams comes over to AKS and runs on Azure Kubernetes service, they're starting to contribute back to open source projects. I've met so many people here at KubeCon who are involved or who are getting involved in open source projects who are from all sorts of different places around Microsoft. I think that cultural impact of bringing cloud native open source and open source in general into Azure and into Microsoft, it just has a tremendous ability to influence how we develop even better software for our customers.